I don't even know what I'm doing the video about. It's been a long day. A lot of struggle, a lot of defending, standing up for what's right. I think since I was a young man, I may have changed 1 or 2% of myself that I felt needed to be adjusted, and that's a small amount. I would imagine that the average, what people do, maybe between like 35% to 65%, and they have much less aspect of things, like not reaching, how am I say this, like not a full being, not a full life, the full life that's worth living. But I do, because as Jack Kerouac says, some they burn, they have a desire, and he called it burning, like active, expanding, expansive. And I have some subjects on my mind after I've been reviewing various material from the archives, and I just want to say that I'm fighting for what this generation's legacy will be and what I have delineated and researched and discovered, and that I must record, express, and give it as a message. That's why I'm a prophet. Let me explain that, as simply as possible, in case people don't know that it's important to acknowledge the prophet, and for those who maybe they have a poor definition of prophet. Okay, a prophet is someone who comes to their people, to their society, at any given time during the planet's history. And they know a lot of people, and supposedly, if you're concerned about them growing up and you go into the details of it and stuff, and the people that are exposed to them in the beginning, they don't really understand. They can't really, you don't get a child prophet, you get an older man prophet. So by the time that comes about, it's a different, it's a more full personality that's come out, and it has like a mission, and that's what you're getting, instead of getting like the one that's not finished. Instead, you're getting the one that's not awakened, not active, not yet active, like like going to become. I just felt like a troll. I felt like a troll was watching. I felt like a troll was just starting to make a comment, and I banished them. I know they're little demons, that they're belonging to legions of wandering groups of unclean spirits. Not that they're not like real spirits, they're astral and such, but they've been thrown down into the earth, and I conquer them. So trolls, I grind you under my pinky, or my heel, whatever comes first. By the way, here's a message for you. Why don't I end on this note? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Coming from Genesis, a lot of misconceptions that people have about Genesis, distinguished from, or separate and different from making the statement that there are misconceptions within Genesis itself, alluding to primarily the fact that it's been translated so many times, and boy, translation is a huge process where things can get fuzzy, things can get changed from the absolute clarity that they are, and that's why, again, the prophet has to talk about these things. In Genesis, it says that there was this thing that happened in the Garden of Eden, and there's this temptation, and then a lot of things resulted from it, or precipitated. Many things that are looked at as bad, change, because there was a state of how it was, which is, maybe it was perfection, maybe it was better, and then it came out of that because of this whole series of events. So when it's said that there's another being who's not Adam and Eve, it's not part of the new humanity, not of the man Adam, not of that family, of that tribe, the universal ancient tribe that we all come from, which is the namesake of Kabbalah, or the origin of Kabbalah. So you want to know what Kabbalah is? I probably should make this the title. What in Lord's name is Kabbalah? Say it. Kabbalah. Try not to pronounce it too much differently. We'll just leave it at that. And we never really say what the meaning is, but I always allude to it so that people who know, they know. And it's important that you know since you've been watching me. Now, the other being that was in the Garden of Eden, as I digress and then I circulate back to my main point, the other being is known as a, well, it's either a serpent or, you know, an other being. And they give a name, and I don't have any fear of it, but what it gives a message, it gives a teaching, and that when it's taken in, it's brought to the consciousness of Eve, and then shared with Adam. So it comes through the female side. It comes through that side of the brain, or that side of the being, the archetype, or the yin yang, and it gets to Adam and Eve with this message. It comes across as this message, and it's a message of, well, on many different levels. But some of it, it's literal, you know, it's what it means, and then it's like figurative, because on the levels of like, well, what does that part of the physicality symbolize from the other realm of the spirit? Like, where do they meet? Where do they, you know, how do they connect? And then it goes to the other side, and then both sides. And the tree is that, and the garden is that, and the couple, the lovers, the first man and wife are that, and the thing, the other being is that, some kind of a symbol. And so the message, and then the event that happens, and is what I guess we would have to say is punishment. It's the turning point that brings us to now. What is this turning point? And then as you get to Cain and Abel, the next generation. But before we do, let's not skip over the most important thing, was the punishment that was given to the other being. Because there's punishment to Adam, there's punishment to Eve, and it's overlapping, and then there's punishment to the being that does this temptation, the one that gives us this message that they're not supposed to do. They've been warned against this. They've been given, you know, the law, the rules, like, you know, be careful when you do this because of what's going to happen. It's like, it is a warning. And if you do it, what are you going to cause to happen to yourself? And that's a self-inflicted punishment, because nobody told you to do that, Adam and Eve. Nobody told you. You told yourself that you should do this. And because you agreed to it, even though you were told not to agree to it, you will go through. It will make your life and all of your generations of the Kabbalah have to go through with this experience. And the punishment that comes to the creature, the other, it's like an angelic demon, angel demon, or becoming demon, or being, and to be punished and banished. The curse goes something like this in the translation, and there's the passage. I guess it's one statement, or maybe like a compound statement, that it says that there will be enmity, like you will not get along. There will be conflict, division between you and the women of females, because, you know, they won't like you. In fact, it'll be like, I think that they will be fearful in disgust, or like they're thinking, just get away, you nasty thing. That's how females will have to be confronted by them and run away. Further divide you, further keep you apart, away. And then how Adam, or the whole human race generally, is going to sink you really low, and under his feet, under the heels, and bruise you, whatever that translation means. Like, it doesn't sound very good. Like, so it's physically, it's a belittling thing. It's like a hurtful thing. And then the statement is that you will have to eat dust all the time. This will be what you do. This will be your food. So dust, the earth, the soil, what's, you know, what we walk on, what the plants grow in, but it's there. It's like this dead mineral material. It's not like flowers or fruits or animal bodies or anything else. It's just such a general mineral mishmash, clay and dirt and soil and dust and ash. And so, if this creature, the punishment and the transformation that happens to them is that they're going to have to be eating all this, like, soil. They're in the soil. To me, that doesn't sound like snakes. And on many points of that statement that if you just translate it properly and then do the further work, more involved of interpretation, and you get the real grasp of it, and you apply it to the world, to reality, and you're saying, that's talking about not a snake. Why is everybody talking about it as a snake to continue the misconception, which is the wrong take on it? It's the wrong interpretation. It's not that. And I've just explained to you why. So if you keep seeing this in paintings or keep hearing it from people and you have to wonder why, because as I've told you, just logically, using a rational approach, scientific method applied to literature, which is scripture, something revered, something religious, but something which also on many levels, because it's from antiquity, it can be dated predating science, it is historical. So in that regard, absolutism of how we face knowledge, they're trying to talk about something, but how we come to recognize that now in our present reality is the issue that I have. So I'm giving you something to start you off. I'm giving you something to chew on, something to gnash, not gnash, something, you know what they say, to cut your teeth on? Like, it's something that I'm giving you to bring you along with me, because you need something. You're like, what's he about? Well, I just gave you some that I'm about, so now you know. So then go on it from that. Put all these things together and say, well, what is he? So In a Blue Moon made some interesting comments, so I don't know. I mean, I think maybe I don't know the person. I just read their comments, just like, I feel like everybody knows me because I put out so much of myself. Everybody knows me, or you can. It is possible. But somebody that just comments and just writes in some text, and probably I could write a few pages of a chapter called In a Blue Moon Communications, just like I could with anybody. I could do Sonic Alchemy, formerly the channel. Now he's Travis Bard. I'm sorry, sometimes with the names changing so much I can't keep track. But like Peter-Appleseed, my own. And other people. I'll give you another example. I think Elaine Williams has been writing more lately. Sunflower New. A lot of people. Carly, who's actually very popular with spiritual vlogs. Who else writes? Archaic Symbolism, who I met physically. There's somebody. But here's the thing. The comments that he made was like, he's saying something like how the woman that I'm with, that gave me my daughter, Shyla, how she can deal with me or stand me or, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'm humble. I can take that. It doesn't have to be an insult. But in the other way, it's like, it's an insult too, because it's like, well, what do you know about her? Did she make 6,000 videos? Do you know what she's about? Do you know, like, where you can pick somebody apart? But the way I behave with her, around her, because of her, is maybe because of a few things that you don't know about that have done things to me personally, that have irked me, that are against agreements, that were sacred, that were my word, that I never broke my word. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but not in the sense that if somebody does something to me, I'm going to treat them that way. I'm going to treat everybody like that. And I don't like it when people come here. This is a very deep spiritual channel, that's for truth. And if you don't agree with it, you're really, really dividing yourself against something where the prophet said he represents truth, and that is something that I think you've got to be very careful about doing. So my family life is put out there. It's been put out there for going on 9 years now. And before that, I was the person on the internets prior to video. And the interweb wasn't even a name, like, it wasn't household yet. It was just like something, like, what is this? Wow, and we did it. I was one of the first million people on the internet making my voice heard, like the prophet crying out in the wilderness. So this thing with her, she come along later, and somebody making comments now is like, Johnny come lately. I don't know if you're 100 years old, 50, or if you're 5 years old, that when you're watching. but it doesn't make any difference because nobody puts themselves out there like I do. So if you don't understand it about my relationships and stuff, then you can. You will. And I will tell you. But if you make an incomplete statement about it, and if I'm not supposed to take it just as a joke, then we have a problem. So I'm going to trust that it was like tongue-in-cheek, and it's like, yeah, you know, like, of course. Do I want to be like that? Ask yourself, is that the way this man, the prophet, really is? Is that the way he wants to deal with, and especially a woman, because I love a woman. I'm a great lover. But I've had problems with it. Why? It takes two to tango, okay? First of all, it takes two to tango. I was just actually on the Facebook, the fake book. I've been using it lately just because I am human and I have my weaknesses. But I've been on there and saying things and reading things that people bring up. Very interesting, because a guy that I don't have too much dealing with, but a little, we don't communicate a lot. He said something that was very, like, heavily dark, and it was like angry and depressing about the way life is and with relationships, especially at the core of it, pointedly. And so I took that point and I said, yeah, you know, I can really relate to that, but how he's putting it out there, I don't know. I don't know if he's kind of partially being sarcastic or what. I don't know. Just out of context kind of thing. But I wrote to him, and we have had a couple of exchanges of message, and I told him, you know, I think because of your mindset and because of the things you know and your experiences, you would like my memoirs. Not that I'm just trying to make a plug for my book, but just between me and him, he could read it because I want to see if he relates, that's all. I'm trying to bring all the light back, the sparks of light that have been scattered since the beginning. Rechai HaKodesh, look it up, his original official name was Yitzhak Luria, back more than 400, 500 years ago. Around the time of Christopher Columbus, he wrote about the Kabbalah. No, I'm sorry, he didn't. Correction, he didn't write much at all, but he taught about the Kabbalah. And all the sparks that are out there, I'm trying to teach. So maybe on the fake book, people are sparks. Maybe on here, people making comments, people are sparks. I'm just trying to collect you all back up because we've been scattered when the vessels were broken in the beginning. It was not a mistake, it was just an oversight. It was not purposely a wrong or something that we need to be confused about or look down on. It's the purpose of the universe. The vessels were broken in the beginning. Study Kabbalah, everybody. Or, if you are brave enough, and I want you to be, read the Zohar, even if you're not going to understand 99% of it. Amen to that. Thanks for listening. I am your prophet. Do the right thing.
Amen.
For truth. Oh, the voice from where?